So, Kamen Rider Ghost is over, and I'm gonna admit, I'm gonna miss that series. Last episode even made me cry a little, but a new Kamen Rider has stepped in to fill in the void, as they usually do. This time being Kamen Rider X8, a video game themed Kamen Rider, who's also a doctor. Now, the first episode of X8 was subtitled today by a new group called X-Site. Let's wish these guys luck and hope that they stick with the rest of the series, because we know Overtime sure won't. Now, this first episode was very interesting. Not a lot happened plot-wise. We were introduced a little to what the Bugsters are and how the Gashat drivers work and what the Gem Corporation is. Now, from what we learned, the Gem Corporation is looking for riders to combat the Bugsters. And from how it's said, it seems that a gamer needs to use the driver. Skills with video games will actually make you a better rider, the more skilled you are with video games. And we are also shown 10 Gashats. Personally, I think that means we'll have 10 different riders, each themed after a different type of game. And that X8 will eventually have a form kind of like Grateful from Ghost that sort of combines all of these. Now, X8 is sort of themed after, I guess, a Mario clone called Mighty Mighty Action X. It's kind of like a mix. From what it looks like, it's kind of like a mixture of Mario and Mega Man. Now, the coolest thing about the transformations in this show is that they changed the world around them to better fit the video game. X8, for example, made a bunch of Mario-esque blocks in the environment that he would break to collect coins and power-ups. One being sort of a jumping/speed power-up that we get to see. Now, the Bugster we're introduced to, at first, wasn't so sure about his design. Kind of looked like a giant mass of meatballs. Not really threatening or intimidating, but the second Bugster we see, which kind of comes from this one, had a bit cooler of a design, fit the video game theme a bit more, whereas the first one I think was trying to fit the virus theme. The second Bugster is meant to resemble a boss from Mighty Mighty Action X, a chef, and fittingly, his minions had cooked turkey heads and chef attire and weapons. Now, I don't know if the rest of the minions will aesthetically fit the other Bugsters. I'm assuming they will, since the Bugsters that came out of him were, they changed forms after they were summoned. But I do think the cooked turkey head thing is common among all of them, so I'm really wondering why they have that in their design. It might not even be a cooked turkey, it's just what it looks like to me. Now, the Bugster in this episode came from a little kid, which is a great way to introduce this sort of series. We see that our rider, Emu, he had a illness or an injury as a little kid and was treated by a doctor, which I'm guessing he idolized and is his reason for becoming a doctor, who gave him a video game, kind of looked like a Game Boy, as a little kid when he was recovering. And this brought a smile to his face. Now, I am assuming that Emu is a medical genius, because I have no idea how he got through med school based on this episode alone. This guy is a huge klutz, first and foremost. He kind of trips over everything and has a lot of accidents in this game. Which is really weird that his powers are platformer-based, which, involves a lot of jumping and moving around. So, it's kind of interesting how this works. We know he's probably very smart, considering he made it through medical school, which, as we all know, is really exclusive. But in real life and in interacting with people, the guy's kind of a dunce. And it's interesting. We already can kind of see how he's going to compare to the other riders. The other riders are, of course, doctors, except for possibly Kamen Rider Gem, who I have no idea what he is, honestly. He seems to be like a human form of the Bugsters. I think some theory out there is that he's the CEO of Gem Corp's son. I don't really know. But We get to see each of the riders that have already been shown to us in catalogs in this episode. We see the real-life people of Gem, Snipe, Brave, I almost said shoot, Brave, and the bike one whose name escapes me at this moment, which I still don't know how they're going to work that in because he literally just turned into a bike. It's not even like Axel where you can see his body in the bike. He just becomes bike. But in this episode, we see 10 different Goshats, each having a different sort of gamer theme. One was kind of a Monster Hunter clone. That was the one that most stood out to me. Another one was kind of like a robot fighter. We get a music game that's like, kind of reminded me of DJ Hero, oddly enough. And something tells me that the video game girl character that we see will become an actual rider. I hope at least. And she'll become the DJ-themed rider. Name's really escaping me right now, as they usually do at the beginning of the series. However, we get to see, I guess, brief glimpses of each other rider's personality. Snipe, literally all we see of him is him going, bang. Really great there. Brave sort of has a pretentious and snobby attitude. He seems to look down on gamers, thinking of it as a trivial hobby, and I find that very weird because his powers are going to be coming from a video game. And a Dark Souls kind of based one at that, which is a very hardcore game that you need to dedicate to. So it's interesting how his personality is going to mix with that. That being said, honestly, the game is fitting to how he acts. He does have that very much that get good mentality that a lot of Dark Souls players, at least the ones online, seem to have. Then we get to see who our bike-themed rider is going to be, and, well, he doesn't really do much other than make a racing pun. And fitting, he is a racing game character. But overall, I like where this series is going. I like it has potential. The comedy, I wouldn't say it's hit or miss. Honestly, the comedy very much works in this, and there are some pretty good jokes in it. I think my favorite one is the opening joke where we see Emu look like he's doing chest compressions, but he's actually just really into a video game. I thought that was really funny. Emu being a klutz bit, I'm not sure how this is going to work from now on, and it really contrasts with him being a doctor, which I think is what they were going for. But it does leave this dynamic tone shift when he actually transforms and is suddenly competent. Overall, though, I think this is going to be a very good series. I mean, granted, we've had series that start off very promising and have not gone so well. We've had series that start off very poorly and actually get really, really good. So it's a wild bag, and honestly, this one is really hard to predict. I really like the visual effect of them changing the environment around them when they transform to match their video game. I don't know how long they're going to stick with that, but I hope they keep that through the rest of the series. It really makes this series unique. It gives it a feel of its own. However, it does make it very CGI heavy. However, other than the meatball monster, CGI was not that bad. The meatball monster itself, though, yikes. I do think, though, that the meatballs might have... I think that goes after the virus theme more. Less so the video game theme, as the bugster that emerged from it had more of the video game look to him. He actually looked like a boss from the video game, which I do think is very cool if they're going to keep that up and make it so that each kaijin connects to the game it's from. But overall, I do like this series. I even see where some series themes could possibly get mixed in, especially with the fact that it's a virus and that it takes place in a hospital setting. The virus part of it does actually remind me a lot of Wizard. Specifically the sequences where Haruto would have to go into the gate and, you know, kind of stop them from being turned into a phantom. It specifically reminds me of that. But I liked Wizard. I guess I'll probably like this. I honestly haven't really disliked a Rider series so far, so we'll see how this goes. And let's look forward to another year of Kamen Rider.